Hello everyone, this is Professor Hill, and this is a short video for our class Introduction to Ethics Philosophy 2306 here at St. Philip's College. This is the Maymester online version of our ethics class, and we've been running through this pretty fast. Today is Friday, the 25th of May, 2018. It's the end of week 2, and we have a case study that's coming up this weekend. And it turns out that in the case study, which is the Nash family, it's due Sunday the 27th, I want to talk a little bit about that right now. And then I'll also talk about the Wednesday case study, which will be our last one. That's about the World War II veteran. That one's due May the 30th, which is a Wednesday. And then our class ends on Thursday, May the 31st, 2018. So less than a week away. So this whole thing's going to be over in less than a week. So we got to stay focused and make sure we get all our work done. So we've been looking at chapters 4, 5, and 6 in our textbook, Doing Ethics by Lewis Vaughn. And we've been looking at consequentialism and non-consequentialism. As we apply to this story about the Nash family, we already have a number of people that have posted their responses, their little essays, and some of them are quite good. But I also want us to make sure that we appreciate and understand a lot of the issues that are kicking around in this particular case study, because there's many, not least of which is the fact that, we start, when we do it like this and we see the whole thing from beginning to end, we know how this ends, and it ends well, I'm happy to say. The family, the Nash family, they are set out to save their daughter's life, and they're able to. They are able to find a cure for their daughter Molly. And so lots of people go, hey, all's well that ends well. That's a great perspective to have. However, we got to remember when they were at the decision point, now 17 years ago, the issues they were grappling with, for them, I think as parents, they were like, look, this is very straightforward. We're going to do anything we can to save our daughter, period. And it works, so we're happy and we're done. But of course, it's much more complicated than that. And let's just start with this one. You might not have thought about it this way, but here's a family, and they've decided we're going to create a human being in order to have a therapy to treat another human being. We're going to create you to save another person. We're going to essentially create an instrument, a medical therapy, which, everybody's glad it worked. But they're not creating a scalpel or a pill, some new medication. Don't kid yourselves. These folks went about to create a human being for this purpose. Now, look, they love their son. There's no doubt about that. They had a third job. But don't forget that the reason they did this, the reason they went down this path, the reason they created Adam, appropriately named perhaps, was to save their daughter Molly. Now, their perspective on it is, yeah, sure, we did it. We'd be happy to do it again. It worked. But there are lots of big issues, not least of which is just the whole instrumentality piece of this, which is human beings are not a means to an end. They're not tools to help other human beings. And also, I have to tell you, there was a lot about the actual process, the in vitro fertilization, the testing and selection process involving fertilized embryos. This is all after conception, and getting down to the right one that doesn't have the Fanconi anemia, that is a right tissue match. For a lot of people, that piece is relatively troubling. But again, let's say that's not a problem for you, and you're, again, happy about the medical therapy. there is also a whole nother set of issues in this, which is about the technology we now have available to us to create what people have called derisively designer babies, the babies that we can pick and choose certain characteristics. Now, in this case, we're going to pick and choose the one that doesn't have Fanconi anemia and then implant that one in the IVF process. But as that technology has progressed, which it certainly has over the last 17 and 18 years, there's more and more that we're able to control and select for. And this raises at least the specter of eugenics, this whole process, which we have a long bad history with as human beings, of saying, look, we're going to build bigger and better human beings, and we're going to use a combination of sterilization of certain people who we don't think should have children, but then even with the ones who we think are on the nice approved good list, get down to specific characteristics about what we think is better than another. I mean, diseases are one thing, but even that gets controversial. And this control over the process, which is still happening, still developing, was given a big boost by this case and this process. Because believe me, at the time it was unprecedented, but not anymore. Lots of people have followed in the path of the Nash family. The creation of savior children is widely accepted now in terms of the medical ethics involved. And again, don't get me wrong. If I'm a parent, my perspective on this is, yeah, save my child. I'll do anything. But maybe that's why we shouldn't have interested parties with conflicts making up policy. Maybe we need to have people sit back and think about what's right, what's wrong, what are the potential downsides to this, because these are complicated issues. And they're all kicking around in this particular case. Now, I do have to tell you that with the Nash family, I think a lot of people saw that it was the foundation for the book and the movie My Sister's Keeper. That was a little bit different. When they did that fictionalized story, they used the Nash family as a starting point, but then they did change some things to make it a little bit more dramatic. In the actual case, they just take the umbilical cord from Adam and get the stem cells from that in order to do the therapy for the sister. In the movie, the novel, My Sister's Keeper, it's an ongoing process, and it's painful to the sister. That I think makes it even more convoluted and more difficult, and I'm glad that's not the case in reality. But it did also have at the heart of it, of that narrative, that fictional story, the issue about using one child as a tool to help another. And especially when they're kids. I mean, they're not talking about adults that are autonomous, independent people that can make their own decision to do it or not. I mean, if you want to donate a kidney to a relative as an adult, that's one thing. But we're making decisions for children. And again, decisions in an area which is going to have profound impact for all of us. And for all of humanity, when we start talking about, the designing aspect of children. And again, like I said, diseases are one thing, but when you start getting into this other areas about what you can control and not, then all of a sudden you got to have a conversation about what's better and why. Then that all of a sudden becomes just rife with other extraordinarily profound questions. So, my point is, in this particular case, we're trying to narrow it down to this case study, to the Nash family, which unleashed a lot of this. And I think there's lots of people who are going to say, yeah, sure, it makes sense. Parents helping their daughter, I get it. But we should wrestle with some of these other implications that are wrapped up in this story. And there are lots of implications from eugenics to the future. And look, I want to also, a lot of people mentioned My Sister's Keeper. Let me mention another great fictional near future story, a movie called Gattaca. A great movie, by the way. And they really get into a lot of these particular issues. That's Gattaca, Gattaca. And in that particular movie, which starred Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, Jude Law, it has a lot of stars in it. This was a 1997, so it's an old movie, but man, it's really well done. And they built in the kind of a near future image, which is coming true. A lot of what they put into this movie has been realized. Some of it not so much yet. It's still a mix of both what we can do and what's futuristic. But it's a really great wrestling with some of these issues. I mean, obviously, I'm not requiring it. I'm just saying, if you haven't seen it, it's really good and worth the watch. And it's right spot on to these difficult issues that we're wrestling with here. That really gets into, how other people around us can begin to impact our potential. Boy, it's good. So watch that one. Anyway, like I said, Gattaca 97. All right, so like I said, it's Friday, it's the 25th. Our next assignment's due Sunday night. And then Wednesday, the 30th, the last discussion's due Thursday, the 31st. Get those finals in. It all wraps up. You'll notice that I put the submit button on there, so we're good to go. So anyway, good luck this weekend. Take care, and I'll put up some comments about the next discussion as well in the immediate future. But have a good weekend, and keep reading, keep writing, and realize we're very close. Only got a week to go. So take care. Bye-bye.